is what a finished ruffle scarf looks like, made with the Red Heart Boutique Sachet yarn. They're somewhat full, but not too full and fluffy. They are about 70 inches long, give or take, depending on how full you make them. And I love the sachet yarn because, if you can see it there is a shiny silver thread that runs through the yarn. Kind of makes it a little glittery, but not too much. And this is the yarn that I use. It's Red Heart Sachet Boutique. The color of this one that I'm going to be using today is called Shuffle. Okay, I've already removed my label from my yarn. And as you unroll it, it comes like this. And I just kind of throw my ball on the floor. You need to unravel it or pull it out. It kind of looks like a fishnet. Some people call it a fishnet yarn. You'll need to separate it as you go. I use a size K hook when I crochet my ruffle scarves. You could also use a J or an L, somewhere in that range. An I would even work. This is the bottom of your yarn, the bottom of your ruffle. It also is the part that has the little silver shiny thread running through it. We work at the top. I work in the second row from the top. See how there's also a row of loops up here that I'm skipping? I like the double thickness at the top, so I always work in the second row. To get started, we are going to count over 5 loops. And when I say loop, it's this right here. See, there's a divider mark there and a divider mark there. I'm going to count over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5. And see how there's a divider line right there, 2 little threads. That is my folding mark. I'm going to hold on to that, fold this around to the front, and line up my loops that are on the second row. Line them all up together. Okay, we are going to put our hook through the first loop right there. You have 2 thicknesses here. We're going to skip the first one where my thumbnail is right here. Insert your hook through this one. It'll be the third one over from the right. Pull that, all thicknesses, through your first loop. Okay? Now, if these are lined up, we're going to, again, skip this one where my thumbnail is. Go over to insert your hook through all thicknesses. Pull that up through. Okay, double layers are gone. There's a little bit left over, but that's not a complete loop right there, so we're not using it. Here's a loop right here. Insert your hook in there. It's called yarn over. Pull through both loops. One more time, yarn over. Pull through 2. That's the only time I do 2 of those slip stitches at the end. Normally there's just 1. Now you're going to turn this, bring it over to your left hand as if you were right-handed. That's what I am, and that's why I'm showing it the way I am. Okay, we have 2 loops here that we created. 1 and 2. I don't know if you can see that on there or not, but there's 1 loop and there's 1 loop. Okay, pick up the first one. We're going to insert our hook up through there. Okay, so now we have 2 loops on our hook. 1, 2. You can either pick up this loop or this loop. Since this one's a little tight to my, a little close to my yarn and my hook, I'm going to go out to the second one. Yarn over. I always poke my hook through the front. Bring it up like that. I'm only going to pull back through my first loop. See, I did not go through this one. Still have 2 loops on there. Going to pick up another loop. Insert your hook through, bring it back, and this time come back through both loops, like that. Okay, Now here's our other loop down there that we created with the first row. Insert your hook up through there. I really like working with this yarn because if you make a mistake, the ruffles are probably going to hide it. It's very forgiving. Not really much you can mess up. I have 2 loops on my hook. I will pick up the first loop this time. It just kind of varies. Sometimes I go out here and I get the second loop. Sometimes I just pick up the first one. Every once in a while I skip one. It just kind of varies the size of your ruffles, makes it look pretty. I'll pick up the first one this time. Okay. I'm going to pull it back through my first loop only. Now I have 2 there. Pick up another one. You always yarn over twice. Pull it through both loops. And 1 single one at the end. Now we're going to turn. Grab a hold of this and pull it over this way. Now if you can see the 2 loops we've created. Let me take my hook out here a second. I'll point them out to you. There's 1 loop there. And there's 1 loop here. This one you can see very well. This one, we know it's there. You can't really see through it, but we're going to push our hook through it when we get there because we know it's there. Okay, get my hook back in here. Okay, go through the first loop here. I have 2 on my hook. Yarn over. Pull through first loop. Yarn over. Pull through both loops. Okay, now we're going to push through this loop here on top. Sometimes it's tight, depends how tight you're pulling your yarn. This one, this first loop is a little too close for me, so I'm going to go out to the second one. There's really no right or wrong. Yarn over, pull through first loop. Yarn over. Pull through both loops, and 1 single one at the end. Turn and repeat. We're going to go through this first loop, first stitch I should say. Yarn over, pull through loop. I'll go this one. Yarn over, pull through both loops. Now this stitch right here, we're going to push our hook through. Yarn over, pull through first loop. Yarn over, pull through both loops. A single slip stitch at the end. Turn. And you just continue this way all the way till you get to the end of your yarn. I'll show you one more row. Push through this loop, stitch. I keep calling them loops, but these right here are stitches. Yarn over, pull through the first loop. I have 2 on my hook. Yarn over, pull through both loops. Push your hook through this stitch right here, which is a little more snug. Yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through both loops, and 1 single one. Oops, I got too much there. 1 single one at the end. Turn, and you just continue going like this all the way down the length of the yarn. When I get to the end, I kind of slit my yarn in a way that I have 2 pieces to tie, and I just tie them in a double knot, and that's how I end, and then trim them closely, and that's how I end it. I will show you that in just a second. Let me finish this row here. Once you get going, it works up kind of fast. It takes me about an hour and a half or 2 hours to make one of these. Like I said, sometimes I take this first one, sometimes I take the second one. And I vary it all the way through the scarf. I just vary what I pick up. Okay. How I end it is you have the end of your yarn like this. I will just kind of half and half down the middle. Take scissors and cut these little divider marks so that I have 2 separate pieces. Does that make sense? I would snip that, 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 snip it like that, and tie them in a double knot. That is after I have pulled, like say I have my last loop like this, pull the whole tail of my yarn through. You would pull the whole thickness through. Okay, and then I would snip my yarn down the middle, so I have two separate pieces, tie them in a double knot, snip them down a little bit close, leave about that much on the end, and that's how I finish it off at the end. If you have any questions, I can do a video on that when I get to it. Just let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.